Good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Thank you for joining us for our 16th Career Ed Talk. We are focusing today on the career field of marketing, sales, and service. So that's what we will be focused on today, and all of our professionals are something within that field. So we have 4 amazing professionals with us today that are taking time away from their busy schedules. So we appreciate you and thank you for joining us. I am going to start very quickly with a screen share just to go over the Florida Department of Education, their website and their infographic. Can you see that? Thank you. Marketing, sales, and service consists of 5 different pathways. This can be marketing management, professional sales, merchandising, marketing communications, and marketing research. So if you are a student in high school, you could be focusing on planning, managing, performing marketing activities, focusing on organizational objectives, and that could go all the way up through post-secondary. Some careers could be customer service representatives, store managers, public relations managers, marketing managers. We have some advisors on, different people in public relations. So this is going to be a really, really good career ed talk today. Throughout Florida high schools, there are over 25,000 enrollment in programs focused on this career field. Top certifications, obviously the MOS bundle, Microsoft Office Specialist, CIW, Internet Business, Adobe, QuickBooks, and with Adobe is the InDesign and Photoshop. And then the high school programs, marketing, management, entrepreneur principles, customer service representative, entrepreneurship, and then sports, recreation, entertainment marketing, and fashion marketing is a very small sliver. Here in Lee County, I would say that our 2 biggest programs in that list is probably the marketing management and entrepreneur principles and the entrepreneurship. And just to put a little plug, I know that Nicole's on here. We will be having this summer. Nicole is working very hard to pilot an entrepreneurship program for some of our students to keep them engaged over the summer. So that's going to be really exciting. You can see here an articulation pathway can be an entrepreneurship program that articulates 3 credits to a marketing management AS degree. So students, if you do this in high school, you could save yourself $320 in college tuition, which is awesome. So for those of you that are already enrolled in marketing program in high school, you are thinking ahead. All right, so we will go ahead and get started this morning. I will tell everyone that we are recording and we will be posting this on our adult and career ed YouTube channel. And I'll just show you what that looks like very quickly. It is Lee County CTE. If you would like to do a search for it, and you can subscribe, and all of our episodes are listed on here. You can watch it at any time. So we'll get started this morning. We have 4 wonderful speakers. First of all, I'll start. My name is Kelly Foley. I'm the career specialist here at the School District of Lee County, and I am joined by my partner, Brandy Foljum, and she is also a career specialist here. We share offices, so we have to play like microphone tag. So she has hers turned off right now so that we don't echo. We also have Stella Egan. She's with the Foundation for Lee County Public Schools, and she works in partnership with us to plan these. So thank you for my partners for joining me. Let's get started with Emily Golden. She is a public relations manager from Priority Marketing. So welcome, Emily. We also have Alyssa Young. She was just recently promoted to senior project manager for marketing at Lee Health. So congratulations on that. That's awesome. We also have Chad Commerce. He is a senior advisor with SVN, and he'll get to tell you a little bit more about what he does. And then we also have Bernard. And Bernard, I'm so sorry if I mispronounce your last name. Boiteux?
Very good.
Ah, okay. See, those French lessons in high school helped him.
It helps every time.
He is an educational sales director with Toon, and that is one of the vendors and companies that we use for some of our classes with CTE. So thank you, Bernard, for joining us. We will get started and we'll kind of go through the panel and give each of you a chance to answer, but just tell us a little bit about your background. So maybe where you're from, where you did any sort of certification or post-secondary attainment, what you went into, because we've learned over the last couple of episodes that not everyone goes and stays on the path that they originally chose. So sometimes that's good for our students to hear. So just kind of give us a little bit of background, what certifications you have and how you ended up where you are now. So we will start with Emily.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. So I am the public relations manager at Priority Marketing. So I grew up here in Fort Myers. I went to FGCU for college. I actually went for a degree in communication and with a concentration in public relations. So I graduated from there, and actually I got my start at Priority Marketing as an intern while I was in school. And so I had a summer internship at this company, and then I just had the opportunity to turn that into a full-time thing. And so I've been here for 6 years now.
Awesome, thank you. Let's switch over to Alyssa.
Hi, my name is Alyssa Young. I'm a senior project manager at Lee Health. I was originally born and raised in Ohio. I moved here when I was about 18. I went to school at FGCU. I majored in communications with a concentration in PR, much like Emily. And I have been in this role now for about 2 years. And, it was kind of, I didn't have some master plan or anything. I had graduated with internship experience in marketing and found out that that was more the route that I wanted to take versus PR. But just kind of, figuring it out still, love my job. So it's all going well.
Awesome. Chad.
Good morning. My name is Chad Commerce. As Kelly said, I'm a senior advisor with SVN Cova. We work in commercial real estate. So what we do is we help businesses find buildings to manufacture goods, doctor's offices to lease or build the spaces that you go visit when you go to the doctor, things of that nature. And my degree is in entrepreneurship, which is technically a finance degree. And I did that with a focus in real estate up in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where I'm from.
Oh, thank you. And Bernard.
My name is Bernard. I've been with Toon Boom for over 10 years. I've been in management going on 25. I started off in California, and I moved here to Montreal when I was rather young to fall in love and find a family. Our company deals with software. We develop the software for the major animation studios, which include Disney, Warner Brothers, Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, as well as Ubisoft and a lot of the other gaming companies. The goal that we're trying to do is to make sure that there's an alignment with what can be done and the jobs that are available for students and the high paying jobs that are associated with animation entertainment production. My background is in mathematics, and doing sales, you're only using a small portion of it. I forgot the rest.
Right, that's usually how it is in most. I know I don't remember a whole lot from my high school geometry class. All right, let's go on to the next question. What made you choose your career? So was there a point in your life when you realized that you were really interested in sales or marketing, or what kind of pushed you into your career? How did you find this interest? Let's go to Alyssa.
Yeah, so actually growing up, I was always super passionate about blogging and writing. And I actually started my own blog at like 12. And I was kind of like a celebrity blogger. I was super into like fashion, all that kind of stuff growing up. So growing up, I developed a blog and got around like 89,000 followers at like 15. So I was like, obviously I'm pretty good at what I'm doing right now. So I kind of found my passion young. I was lucky. Not everyone's the same way. Everyone's kind of at their own pace, but it showed me I knew really how to market through like social media platforms and how to write and how to, deliver a message to the masses and have people react to it. So I was kind of lucky in my experience, but definitely found my passion very young.
That's pretty impressive at 15. Awesome. How much time do you think you spent when you were 15, 16 blogging?
It was probably about a couple hours a day, actually. And of course, there's a lawnmower right outside my house right now. But it was like my escape. I would do it while I needed a break from school or needed a break from the papers that I didn't want to write because I was more passionate about the blogging and what I did want to share. So.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I like that you still found a way to put your creativity to work, even if it wasn't necessarily for school stuff. I'm still getting that practice. Let's go to Bernard. How did you find your passion for this?
It came at a later point in life. I used to run a series of movie theater companies up here in Canada, and during the course of it, I always wanted to do something a little more exciting, as opposed to taking care of figure this one out, movie stars, sports stars, politicians. And an opportunity just came up, and a guy says, you know, you should try sales. You have the right personality for it, and it gets you the opportunity to travel the world. And it was a huge risk, like everything else in life. You have to figure out what you want to do. And I didn't want to be that guy, that car salesman, or hey buddy, how you doing? It was more for developing relationships, which I've always had a strong knack for. And you know, by the time I was 42, I was already working at a related industry. And next thing you know, I'm in Europe, South America, started traveling, and a friend of mine said, you know, you would really love, you know, because I love entertainment, I love animation, always loved it as a kid, comic books, a bit of a nerdy geek. And the guy goes, you know, you can make money with the knowledge and the geekiness that you know. And I go, great. And he introduced me to this particular company, and I fell in love with it day one. And you know, if you really want to have an adventure, the sales is it. You are responsible for, you know, if you take your job seriously, you realize you're responsible for everyone else's mortgages, for the success of a company, and and you get to do. And if you're lucky enough to work in a field that you're passionate about, it's just awesome. It's just absolutely awesome.
Thank you. And that's what we hope. We want our students to find what they're good at and what they're passionate about, and then find a job that will pay them to do that. So it's not like working every day. Emily, what about you?
Yeah, I didn't know what I wanted to do until I was probably midway through my college career. I was actually going for education initially. And as I was, going through that process, I was starting to learn that I just didn't think that that was the right route for me. And so I started exploring other options, and I made the decision to take like an intro to PR class. And from there, I had a chance to really learn about, like, we went through this mock campaign. And so really had the opportunity to see how we can take, here's what we want, the point we want to get across. And then it's learning how to help a company communicate that to their audiences. And I just really loved that opportunity to, really help form that messaging and, help people understand and, the results of that campaign. And so from there, I started, taking that route through PR. And now today, I was really interested in the agency scene for, marketing and PR agency, because it just gives you the opportunity to work with a lot of different clients, working on a lot of different projects. And so had the opportunity to, work on nonprofit, work on, for-profit in the business, real estate or financial, restaurants. And so, just being able to, help those companies communicate has been, just a passion of mine.
Awesome. And Chad. Oh, yes, Chad, sorry.
There we go. Can you guys hear me okay? I'm sorry. The landscapers are outside my place too right now.
Of course, right?
All right. Yeah,
Oh,
right. The best possible timing. Yeah, very similar to what other people have said. I've always been a relationship focused person. And so sales and taking the time to understand what people are looking for and then helping them get what they need to succeed is just a passion of mine, and it always has been. And I get a great amount of enjoyment out of it. So every day is different. There's always new challenges to navigate. You are responsible for a lot of people, and connecting all those dots is extremely rewarding. So that's pretty much where I'm at.
thank you. So a couple of things that I heard come up from all four of you when you talk about your passions is for a couple of you, it's more of the writing and the storytelling and helping people communicate. And for a couple others, and also that includes building relationships. So for all of you, a really big focus is building those relationships. What are some other personality traits that would do really well in sales and marketing? So if some of our high schoolers aren't really sure what they want to go into, they know how they are, they know what skills they have. What are some things that they could probably assess themselves to say like, oh, maybe that's a direction I want to look? Let's start with Emily.
Yeah, I think, multitasking is a great skill set to have, especially, you're navigating a lot of different projects, different deadlines, and, wanting to make sure you're managing all that accordingly. But, of course, just, someone that's outgoing and, comfortable in a setting that's communicating with, whether you're in an agency setting where you're communicating with clients and media and vendors, or otherwise, if you're working as the marketing person in your own company, just communicating with your, company leadership and other staff. And, so being comfortable and, that outgoing type of personality is always great. Not that that's, a deal breaker. You don't always have to be super outgoing, but having that creative component as well is, if you're a visual person that really, sees a design and says, wow, that looks really great. That helps communicate what this brand is all about. So it's like some of those, different elements that really play a key role in the marketing arena for sure.
Thank you. Chad?
We finally have peace and quiet. I think being in sales, one of the things you have to like is being a lifelong learner. Things are always changing. You have to stay ahead of the curve. You have to dedicate yourself to be able to do that in order to properly explain the benefits of whatever you're selling to someone. And if you don't understand it well yourself, you can't explain to them why it's in their best interest to engage in activity, to buy a product, to do whatever that action is that you're hoping they take. So I think really being a lifelong learner and then being empathetic and understanding what they need and why they need it. I would say those are the two things.
Awesome. Alyssa?
Yeah, so in marketing, I mean, one of the best advice I ever got at a young age, so I hope kids can take this with them, is be nice to everyone, because you never know who that person is that's going to be your connection later on in life, or who's going to be your boss, or who's going to be, the person that you need help from. So, I mean, being nice to everyone and really just trying to understand people and where they're coming from. And you don't have to like everyone, but having a mutual understanding with them that you have the same kind of goal. So that's something that I think is so important in marketing, is that you're not always going to agree with everyone. You're not always going to agree with someone's ideas, but how do you work through that? And the other thing that's really important with that is listening to understand instead of listening to react. When you listen to understand and you're trying to fully comprehend what they are trying to tell you versus trying to find your remarks back of why your idea is better or whatever, you can come to compromise so much easier with that individual. So really just being, a compassionate, empathetic individual, because everyone walks their own life. Everyone has their own stories, and you just have to be willing to listen to that story. So that's two things that I would 100% pass along to anyone else. And also just in marketing, it's nice to have the analytical side too, and being able to understand stats and why did this work? Why did this not work? And being able to find new solutions, which is part of what I love about marketing, is you never have to have the same thing over and over. You can switch it up as much as you like. So it's been very rewarding.
And Bernard.
Well, Alyssa hit it on the nose when it's listening. The biggest challenge salespeople have is always trying to push their product for whatever reason and not really understanding what the needs of the client is. So listening is a huge factor. And the other one is asking the right questions. Like everything else, you're having a conversation and you need to understand where the pains of a client is, whether it is in, you know, in animation production, it's timing or delivery of a episode or telling a story. There are a lot of elements that are in play, and if you don't ask the right questions or try to get to the crux of the issues, you're never going to advance in that particular element, and there's always going to be a barrier there because you're not listening to really what the issues are. And no one buys things because they just want to buy it. They buy things based off the pain that they're currently experiencing now. So if you're out buying a new car, well, the reason you're buying a new car is because the other one's is breaking down or doesn't get the mileage you want or just looks aesthetically bad. It doesn't represent your status. So everything is worked on pain, and once you realize that, it just opens up the door for great conversations and great relationships over time, because you're taking the time to understand and listen to the client's professional challenges.
Thank you. You all made very good points. And I think that a lot of those personality traits could even overflow into other career fields as well. It's just super important to be empathetic in general and to listen. Listening is a big part of communication. It's probably more important than the actual talking part. So very good points, good advice to give to our students. Thank you. I know at one point, Chad, you had mentioned how your day-to-day kind of changes. So let's talk about what your day-to-days look like. What is it, a 9 to 5? Are you working in the evenings? Is it flexible? 5 days a week, 40 hours a week? So what does your schedule look like? We'll start with Chad.
So first of all, I should say I'm an independent contractor, which means I don't get a salary. I'm a commission salesperson. So I can work as much or as little as I want. And the amount of time and the effectiveness of that time is how much money I make. Hopefully there's a direct correlation, not always. But a typical person in my career field, it's not a 9 to 5. You're always working, you're servicing the needs of others. So when someone has a need, you need to go out and find them a solution for that need. That involves looking at the marketplace of all the buildings that are available. It involves analyzing data of what's happening recently, what happened a while ago, what's likely to happen in the future, and compiling all that data together to hand off to them with an explanation of a realistic expectation of what they can, what they can plan on for the future. And so sometimes I'm on my computer, oftentimes I'm on my phone, and oftentimes I'm sitting down with people, talking to them, listening, and going over basic discussion points of, why something's good, why it's not good, and fine tuning our approach to solve their problem. So in my industry, your first 3 years are very lean. You don't make a lot of money because you have to build the relationships, you have to build your market knowledge. And then it's kind of a hockey stick approach where once you have the general knowledge and the marketplace expertise, if you want to put in the time, you can do very well. So oftentimes people in my industry work 60, 70, 80 hours a week, because the rewards are there if you're doing the right things and you trust the process. So.
Thank you. Alyssa, what does your day-to-day look like?
So my day-to-day changes constantly. I wake up and don't even know what I'm going to do that day sometimes, because it's just what emails hit my inbox at 7 a.m., which is to me really fun, because I kind of like thrive on chaos, and I thrive on just like not knowing. 'Cause I would go crazy if I was 9 to 5 every day doing the same exact thing, filing paperwork. It just is not the space for me. So I am a 40-hour a week employee salary. So the only thing that sometimes is not so great is that if I work, 60 hours a week, I'm paid for 40. But it balances out in the next week. My leadership kind of does like comp time of, hey, if you're able to take off some of those, like if you can leave at noon on a Friday or whatever, they try to balance it out. So I hit my 80 hours biweekly, but sometimes that's not possible because I worked for the healthcare system. So as you know, we had something called COVID-19, and it was straight crisis chaos for a year and a half. We're still in it. It doesn't end, with guidelines changing, with leadership doing this. So my phone sometimes will ring at 3 a.m. Not for everyone, but for me, I get up, I'm like, hey, what's up? Like, what are we doing? Okay, I got it. I'm on my computer, I'm logging in. Or it is, that 11 o'clock, or it's very flexible. But to me, it's so rewarding because the things that I'm doing is helping others. So whether it's that mass communication about, what's going on in our hospitals or anything like that. And I get a lot of direct patient contact, and I get to hear people's stories. So if we have time for a quick story, someone actually reached out and had said that their father had passed away during COVID, and that she wasn't able to visit him like in his last final moments. So she messaged me and was like, is there any way I can get one of his final EKGs? And if you don't know, that's like his heart rhythm. And I was like, I stopped in my tracks. I got this message at 10:30 p.m. I was calling all these people, and we got the EKG sent over to the daughter because she wanted to get it tattooed on like her arm or whatever. So it's super rewarding. And I cry like all the time at work because there's so many stories, and these like little kids, you just want to hold them and like protect them at all costs. And even the elders that are like, sometimes on their final moments, and they just want to share their story with you. So it's never the same, which is why I love it, but it is very sad sometimes, but also very happy, like a lot of happiness in it, and just exciting. So.
Thank you. I was going to ask you if you get very emotional, because I don't know that I could do that. So thank you for what you do and sharing the stories within our healthcare. Emily, what's your day-to-day look like?
Yeah, so like the others, the day-to-day is, very unpredictable at times. We really work around the needs of the clients that we serve. And so that could be, an event one evening, or, the launch of a campaign, the next morning. And, so it really just varies depending on, what those needs are. So there's never, quite a day that's ever set in stone. Like here's the 3 things that I'm going to do today, because that can always change when we, get a request from a client, or if a reporter reaches out working on a story, and we, drop things and make sure that we meet their deadlines. And so, everything is a little bit different, but I love what Alyssa said. It's also rewarding, and it really is. And just to, be part of those stories, and to help, support organizations and nonprofits and their missions, and just help tell the stories about what they're doing. And the timing on that can always just change depending on how things develop. And so it's really just being responsive and just ready to jump on things when they come in, and working. We're fortunate to have like a great team that we can divide and conquer on things, and so it's helpful to be able to rely on a team like that, so that we can just jump on and get things going. So
Thank you. And Bernard, what about you? What's your day today?
My day today currently is, like everyone else or most of us, working from home and having a lot of video conferences. My day usually starts around 7:30 in the morning and doesn't finish until maybe 6 o'clock, 6:30 at night. But I'm in the educational sector, so I'm basically working when the schools are available. But prior to doing that, I oversaw the Asian Pacific market for 5 years, and being in the East Coast and working in Pacific time is a little more of a challenge. So that was a day that would run from 4 a.m. to about 10 p.m. at night, just to make sure I hit all my markets from India to New Zealand. And it's always interesting. And the thing about sales is, if you have the ability to have that flexibility and look at a chance to travel and go see the world, it's the best way to do it. I never thought that I would have been in London or Mumbai or Sydney, Australia, because I would never be able to afford it. But thank God there's industry around the world that depends on our technology. Next thing you know, I'm meeting guys who created the lightsabers for Star Wars or have worked on The Simpsons for 34 years. And it's just awesome. And being able to take that experience from working in that market and bring it into the North American marketplace has changed everything, because the conversations that we're having, from that regular run, is huge, because everyone wants a line, and the conversations that I have, like on Skype or Slack or whatever we're using, Zoom, I think I got 5 platforms, is exciting. And when I'm talking to students who've graduated and now working at Disney or Cartoon Network, they're just excited because they never thought they would make $120,000 drawing. There's just an excitement in sales, and it's, as I said earlier, it's just fun if you really have that passion for it.
Thank you. Bernard, you bring up a good point about technology and how, especially during COVID, we've definitely relied a lot more on technology and trying to focus on the advancements and the positives. And Bernard, the fact that we can have you here on this Career Ed Talk all the way from Montreal is pretty cool. What are some other ways for all of you that technology has kind of helped you in your careers and specifically in this field of marketing and sales? How do you think technology has kind of helped? And also, 2-part question, where do you think it's going? So what does your field look like, with or without technology over the next 5 to 10 years? So let's start with Emily.
great. Yeah, so technology is a huge component of what we do, whether it's communicating with clients, working with news reporters, but then also on the digital marketing side, social media, all of that just plays such a influential role in what we do. And going forward, really, it's just we've seen a lot of growth in the digital side and video as well. So especially during the past year plus of COVID, companies are really needing to be responsive and doing that through their social media channels, but also implementing more use of video to share their messages. Audiences are just really visual, and so any opportunity to share that message and get in front of those people is just so important. And so really just over the upcoming years, just seeing that continued growth in digital and video.
Thank you. Alyssa, let's jump over to you.
Yeah, so actually, I think the most important, and Emily kind of hit on this too, is social media right now is such a good way for companies to kind of get their message out. And, you used to look at media as kind of like the gatekeepers, right? They got to decide what was important. But now with social media, companies are able to put out the messages they want the community to see without having to go through the media and the gatekeepers of say. So an example of this was we had a patient, call him Iron Man Alex. He's like the coolest kid ever. He's battling inoperable brain tumor. So he has cancer, and he was doing a toy drive, and we kind of pitched it to the media, and they're like, like it's kind of cool, like maybe we'll come. Like they weren't like totally interested in it. So we said, you know what, like we'll just cover it. Like I'll go with my camera, we'll go post the photos, all this stuff. We post it. All of a sudden my phone's ringing. It's NBC, the national NBC with Lester Holt, and is like, hey, we want to do a story on this kid. And it's like so funny that it's like our media kind of like overlooked it. They're like, oh, it's cool. And like Lester Holt's calling me up, like, I want to interview this kid. I'm sending my crew tomorrow. Like, can we do it again? I'm like, yeah, we can. So social media is just so powerful because you never know who's going to see your stuff or if it's going to go viral. And it kind of like, yes, we have good relationships with the news, but if they pass on a story and all of a sudden your post has like over 1,000 likes, they're like, shoot, we missed the story. So then they kind of start asking you, like, what do you have going on this week? Because you start to learn what's going to do well. So social media for me, hands down, if you're not good at it already, I would learn how to do it ASAP. It's both a blessing and a curse, though, I will say, but definitely social media is like one of the technologies I see moving in for a long term. And I mean, how is it going to develop in 5 years? I guess we'll see. But definitely just learning to communicate your story without needing others to push it out is very important.
Thank you. Very good points. And I like how you brought up, social media. And now in our high school classes, they're able to get a social media certification, also data analyst certification. So I feel like the market is moving in that direction, which it's good, it's positive. But like you said, it is two-sided. So just talking with a coworker about watching the Social Dilemma documentary. So very interesting. Got a little off topic. So let's go to Chad. Chad, what are some ways that technology helps you now? And then where do you see your career field moving in the next 5 to 10 years?
So if we go back to the 80s, you used to have to pick up a phone and talk to a person and track your own data before computers were really big, before centralized databases. So if you wanted to know information to help people make decisions, you had to go out and source that information yourself. In our industry, what's happened is all that data has become more centralized on a few platforms and more readily accessible. So you can source it, analyze it, and use it effectively more quickly than ever before. What I think is going to happen in the future is that if you look at, people, we naturally have biases and things like that we make decisions more based on preferences than maybe what's good for us all the time. So I think in our industry where profit's the end goal for our clients, you're going to see more machine learning and analytics that take out those biases and those preferences and make just good decisions based on data and fact. And I think that'll change our role a bit because right now we're seen as the experts. But if a machine can do that as effectively, we're going to have to stay ahead of the curve and figure out how to use that machine in order to give our clients the best service they can get. So.
Very good. And Bernard.
I think technology is going to be playing a huge role in anything we do going forward. The one thing it will not replace is the person-to-person interaction. In sales, it's all about connecting. And the only way you can properly connect, we can do it over Zoom, we can do it. The phone is great, but when you are in front of the individual, you get the other important cues, the nonverbals. That is an essence of what makes sales successful. You're getting to build a relationship. You're getting to understand how these people operate, and the fact that you're taking the time to come and see them at their work, you get a better idea of what their environment is like. You know, if I walk into an NYU and a Cal Arts, I'm sure they're going to be two awesome schools, which they are, but there's going to be certain differences between the personalities of one school versus the personalities of another one. And the only way you're going to get that is not off a video phone call. It's face to face, because there's different challenges that the teachers and the students come from and go through. The other element that comes in and going into, whoa, I guess there's a fire. Sorry. So the other thing is, speaking to one of the studios, Bento Box, which does Bob's Burgers. I was speaking with their recruiter, and one of the biggest challenges they have is that face-to-face interaction. So if you're a student and you're going into the field and you have the opportunity to get in front of a studio or a company that you really want to work for, you know, those personal cues, looking in the eyes, shaking hands, acting like you actually want to be there. And it's amazing, you know, what that studio and some of the others were saying, that everyone's afraid to have that contact because you're part of a team. And like any sport, you know, you gotta pick up the vibe of the other person you're working with to do your job correctly. And when you're just basing everything off technology, you don't have that, and there's a lot of missteps and miscues because you're not getting that nonverbal cues that we need to operate and be successful.
Right. Thank you. And you're so right. Nonverbal cues are such a huge part of communication. I know we had talked about, Alyssa, you shared a couple stories. Do any of the rest of you have a story or some experience that really stands out in your mind as either something that was good or maybe something that was bad and you learned a lesson from, but some kind of personal story that you can share with our students? I'll start with Chad.
Sure. Like a day-to-day, a good representation of what we do.
Sure.
Okay. A good friend of mine for 7-8 years now owns a manufacturing business here in Florida. They make really neat surgical tools. They make air filters for F-18 jets. They make a whole bunch of wide array of products, and they have long lead times where they get orders and they have to make stuff. Anyway, the space he was leasing, so he didn't own the building he was in. He was renting it from someone else, what we call a lease. And that landlord decided that they were not going to renew his lease. Well, he called me up in a panic and said, I need a new building. I need it now. I want to buy it. We've got to move in 6 months. And it's going to take us 3 months to customize the space and probably $1 million to customize the new space. So it was a bit of a fire drill, even though we had 6 months, because we had to look at the marketplace, figure out what options were available, figure out which ones fit him, go negotiate on them, make offers, negotiate, get into contracts, and then go through the zoning and approvals with the local governments and basically get him built out, customize the space the way he needed it to be, and then move him in. And so he's actually, we're at the tail end of that process now, and it's been about 6 months, and he's going to be moving in about a month and a half. But we had to go through all that. We had to work with attorneys and local officials, government officials, his suppliers, different businesses that helped in the construction process and things like that, and kind of bake the cake and put it all together so that he's got something. So he's got a new home for his business for the next 10 years, and he can continue to grow and double his size, which is his 10-year goal. But we had to, like Bernard was saying, we had to understand what he needed and talk to him and meet, talk with his staff and figure out what the right location was, what the functionality requirements were of this new building he needed and how that might be different from what he had then, and then go out and deliver that to him and deliver some solutions to him. So.
Awesome. Good story about kind of what your day-to-day is like. Emily.
Yeah, I think just more of like a large picture approach is just, something that I've learned is the importance of, being proactive in everything that you do. From a company standpoint, if you're planning to, launch this big, campaign, or a nonprofit launching a fundraising campaign, or, and if there's ever some type of crisis that you have to respond to, the importance of being proactive and taking those steps to plan in advance, and really just having all these little steps in place so that you are ready to launch, ready to respond to the unexpected. And that's just so fundamental and something that people don't always think about. You can get so caught up in your day-to-day and task-oriented. I have to, here are the things that I need to get done today, but just really being strategic and thinking about the full picture and, what that means for your company and your staff and, your future as your business. And so I think that's, important step from, the student perspective too, as you're, going into a career path, is, that proactive approach and, learning and, understanding like all of the different, aspects or components so that you're ready to, take advantage or respond to whatever those, unexpected experiences are.
Thank you. Bernard, any good stories or lessons that you've learned?
Yeah, the best lessons that I've learned is you're not always right. It took me a long time when I was younger. I always thought I knew exactly what I was doing, and I realized over time I was an idiot. hindsight is 2020. And being able to understand that you don't have always the answer is important. Being part of a team is the only way to do it because it's going to leverage your weaknesses. And being able to understand and learn from the mistakes that you've made. And, after close to 20 years of selling and management, I've made some mistakes. But, owning up to it and figuring out how to make amends in some instances is always key, and it's humbling. Many times, and I've seen it with guys that have come in and all full of vinegar and fire, ready to make any type of deal just to get the order in, is never the right strategy. And it takes a few years for them to realize how much money they've either left on the table or how they didn't properly serve an account. And in many cases, they don't last long. And being able to own up to your own shortcomings and try to improve on them. And the biggest takeaway is you always try to make sure you align yourself with the strongest person on the team and learn from their successes and their failures. And that's always a hard thing to do. We always try to make sure we always think we're awesome, and people think salespeople have the biggest egos. No, we have the most fragile egos. We want to do great, and when we it's like when you listen to a baseball game or sporting game and you lose the game, the quarterback's there and he's going, "Jeez, I was responsible for this," and you couldn't do it. Same thing in sales. You're responsible for the livelihoods of everyone you work with, and when you show up, you gotta give your 100% every day, because just because you miss your target, well, if you miss your target and 5 other people miss their target and no one learned from that, it affects the bottom line of a company, and sometimes people get let go. So it's with sales, it's always learn from the mistakes and try not to repeat them, and is key.
Very good reminder for life in general as well, as to learn from your mistakes. Alyssa, do you have any other stories that you want to share?
I have so many stories, but I think I knew I was exactly where I needed to be. I mean, I think this was like the first month I worked at Lee Health. I was at the Children's Hospital, and there was a little patient who I just found out she was terminal from cancer, and she like broke down and was like, I'm not going to be able to see Frozen 2. Like that's like what she was worried about. And immediately, like our chief officer was like, not on my watch, like walked down to his office, got all the contacts involved, called Disney and bought the rights to Frozen 2, like right at that moment. And then her family and her had like a little viewing party. And then like a few days like later, she passed away. But like, you know, in anything, like I get so emotional because you get so attached to some of these patients, but it's rewarding in the sense of I know I am helping people in my position. And even if I can make them smile on like their worst day, I know I'm making a difference. And that's when I knew I was like exactly where I needed to be. I wasn't just there for a paycheck. I was there to actually, you know, help people in my community, people in our backyards, our neighbors. Everyone ends up in the hospital eventually for something, whether it's just a broken hand or anything else. So that's the moment where I was like, I am where I need to be right now. Like this is good for my soul. So definitely very emotional job, but very rewarding.
That's awesome. And that's all we can hope is that our students end up having that same feeling where they are so passionate about what they're doing and loving going to work every day. I do want to make sure that we're cognizant of your time. Thank you for sharing those stories. One last chance, students, if there's any students on here that have any questions, please, teacher, feel free to put it in the chat. I did get one question that was your favorite marketing book of all time. So, you know, or maybe even we can expand on that, your favorite maybe self-development book, something that you think would be good for students who are interested in this field to read. If they're going to pick up a book, what's something that they should be reading? Bernard, I see you shaking your head, so I'm going to go with you first, put you on the spot.
The basic book that I guess we all had to read at one point or another is Dale Carnegie, How to Make Friends and Influence Others. It's a book of common sense, but using that in your day-to-day is key, and reading it at an early age is smart. And then if you're going into management, I would say the first chapter of Tom Sawyer. Once you read that chapter, you understand how management and in many cases sales works, because Tom is painting a fence and then he gets everyone else to paint the fence and the fence gets done. It's great reading, you know, finish the book, but yeah, no, the how to Dale Carnegie, that's for me, it was a turning point in my young career.
Thank you. And then I'm just going to open the floor to the other three of you, whoever wants to pop in a good book recommendation for our students.
I'm trying to think. First, I would say just keep reading, just because you got to stay fresh. And anytime you read something, whether it's a novel or a magazine or a business book, you're going to prompt other ideas than whatever you're reading about. And that's going to open up ideas and concepts and pathways to better yourself or to help people. So the first thing is keep reading. The best sales book, I think I read a long time ago. I think it was called The Go-Giver. I think that's one that I hear over and over again that people always recommend for sales. So yeah, go check that out. It's a short read, so not too hard.
Thank you. Emily or Alyssa?
Trying to think of the name of the book. I think it's like the Habits of Highly Effective People. I think that's an interesting read. But also to look into other things like podcasts too. There are a lot that are out there, you know, whether it's marketing or I like some of the PR ones that there's like a Young PR Pros podcast that I like to tune into. And so there are just so many different resources out there if you're interested in, you know, a certain aspect of marketing or sales, or, you know, to just explore and see what's out there, because there's always something for everyone.
Yeah, and back to Chad's point, I mean, read frequently and often, no matter what it is. Pay attention to punctuation, pay attention to how they, you know, space things out, because all that can be translated over into marketing. Whether if it's like you're reading a magazine or a book or an article. I mostly read articles like from like LinkedIn or you know, peer studies and stuff like that, because I'm super boring. So but just paying attention to how it's written and why did it catch your attention. Was it the tagline that they posted about it? Was it the summary? And trying to translate that over into your own marketing is kind of where I am.
I think you brought up a good point too, with paying attention to punctuation and spacing. I think just across the board, it's very important, even in any field. If you have to communicate, especially through email or written word, it's so important to pay attention to the grammar, capitalization. You know, it's not like sending a text to your friend. If it's a professional email, that's very, very important, students, to make sure that you have the correct punctuation, capitalization, and grammar. I'm a little bit of like a grammar freak. So definitely it just, professionalism comes across so much more when your emails are worded correctly and have the correct punctuation. So thank you for all of that. Very last question. I know we only have 2 minutes left, so we'll keep it short. But if you could go back to your 16 or 17-year-old self, what is a piece of wisdom or advice that you have now learned through your years that you would go back and share with your high school self? So we will start with Chad.
Gosh, I would say get better grades and go to a better college, because smarter people are more fun. The parties are always more creative at the top-notch schools. So work harder. It's not always fun in the moment, but there are benefits, and it's a good track record to set for yourself and a good expectation to set for yourself.
Awesome advice. Bernard.
I would say if I could go back in time, I would say buy some Apple stock and some Google shares ahead of time. Apart from that, it would be, you know, not take yourself as serious. Enjoy the little things. That would be the biggest one.
Thank you. Alyssa?
I think I would tell my younger self that things get better. I think we put so much pressure on ourselves in high school to get grades and to go to a good school. So I would tell her to take a chill pill, and that everything works out the way it's supposed to, and that you're going to look back in 10 years from now and wish you had those days back, because everything was so much simpler. Even though it doesn't feel like it now, things get better.
But do they?
And Emily.
I would say just to surround yourself with people that have the similar values as you do, and to you know, get yourself some type of mentor that you can really learn from. You know, I think we all try to have it all figured out and to know what we're doing with our lives, what our next steps are after high school, and it's never quite predictable. So it's, you know, really to embrace the unpredictability of it, and to surround yourself with people that might know a little bit more about what they're doing that you can learn from and really grow.
Such good advice. Yeah, that's something that's come up before too, is just finding a mentor, find someone in the community that can help you, whether it's in the field you're interested in or not, someone that you respect and has similar, like Emily said, similar values that you can kind of rely on. And I don't know if any of us really ever have it figured out. So it's all a learning process. So just like Alyssa said, don't put too much stress on yourself. And it's okay to change your mind and try different pathways. Well, thank you so much to Emily, Alyssa, Bernard, and Chad for joining us today. So happy to have all of you on. This was a really good one. And just to close this all up, I am going to share our Career Ed Talks flyer. Can you see it? Yes. All right, so here is our flyer. Today was our 16th Career Ed Talk, which was marketing, sales, and service. And in 2 weeks, on June 2nd, transportation, distribution, and logistics will be our very last Career Ed Talks for this school year. And then we're going to move maybe in a different direction next year. So we're kind of brainstorming some ideas with some foundational skills and soft skills, and maybe incorporating those a little bit more through next year's Career Ed Talks. But thank you again so much for our marketing, sales, and service panel. Please let us know if there's ever anything that the school district can do to assist you. And we are so happy to have you on today. Thank you for taking the time out of your schedules. So students, have a great Wednesday, and we'll see you all in 2 weeks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you
Bye.
very much. Cheers.